Funding for This Is Nashville comes from you, our listeners, and Amazon, proud sponsor of WPLN's daily show, This Is Nashville, engaging our differences so we can discover our unity. More on Amazon's community work at aboutamazon.com.
I'm Khalil Ekolona, and this is Nashville. María Magdalena Campos-Pons is the Cornelius Vanderbilt Endowed Chair, Professor of Fine Arts at Vanderbilt University. In addition to her practice as an artist and professor, she has made a significant contribution to the larger world of art and to Tennessee through her ongoing program, Engine for Art, Democracy, and Justice, which brings together scholars, critics, and artists from around the world in virtual seminars and physical artist interventions. She was the consulting curator for the 2023 Tennessee Triennial, a statewide series of exhibitions addressing the theme of repair, art as a means of healing a broken society. In 2023, Campos-Pons was named a MacArthur Fellow in recognition of her groundbreaking synthesis of cultures and mediums in advocating for art's capacity to heal individuals and society. I'm happy and honored to welcome María Magdalena Campos-Pons to This Is Nashville. Thank you so much for being here.
Well, it is my pleasure. So happy to be here. Thank you really for inviting me.
This is really, really and truly wonderful. So I want to ask you, what's on your mind right now? As you woke up today, what is your spirit telling you?
What a wonderful question. What a beautiful way to start a conversation. Care. The state of our world is in my mind when I open my eyes. I have a habit to read news very early in the morning. And sometimes the news precedes my prayers. So I jump out and I think that the war is in my mind. Cuba has been in my mind. Cuba, the war, and this is in my mind because it links and brings together so many things. Thinking about family, thinking about friends, thinking about the state of the arts, thinking about what we could do collectively as individual, as a species, to live better life. And I think that there are routines in my life. They are a way of existing with rituals in how do I go to every day, everything. My dreams are very important in my life. Mm-hmm. And usually, image and things that come in my dreams kind of construct my perception and my landscape of how the day is going to be about. So profoundly had been in my mind Cuba, the state of the war. I have a conversation at the end of the evening with my son, and Cuba came to my mind. So that was in my mind in the very first open of my eyes, seeing the light, thanking the universe for allowing me to see one more day, and align myself with a desire to have a return of gratitude to the universe for the opportunity of being alive today and be in the position to actively do something for betterment of myself and everything else that is in the realm of my touch and my access.
That's beautiful. When I woke up today on my mind, I said, what question would you ask God if you had the chance? And to me, it was, has there ever been a day where one human being did not kill another? And will there ever be a day when a human being does not kill another? That's what was on my mind. Because, you read news before your prayers. I listen to news before I sleep.
I don't do that because then I will not be able to sleep.
And it's interesting when your dreams, how they inform you. I too have had that. I've had dreams so powerful that I've made important decisions. I can honestly say I'm here sitting in this chair talking to you now because I paid attention to dreams
Beautiful.
That came to me.
Oh, that's wonderful. I mean, we share that. I say a lot of my dream guides my day and my actions in general, my work. You make such a profound question that is in my mind all the time. And it is in every time that I have an opportunity to speak publicly. I brought to the attention of my audience and into my art this question, the opportunity of how do we become better self to ourselves and others. And of course, behind that is the lingering question of, will we be able to actually exercise care and peace within each other in a small scale and in the large scale? Because I put a lot of attention to the small scale. All that we need to be great is to repeat in large scale what we do in the small scale.
Yeah.
Since that one is, of conscious, of love and care, of commitment to betterment. Since I am very young, I refer to myself as a romantic, because I found very early the contradiction of my hope, my aspiration, my desires, and my profound sentiments about trying to engage, trying to spread love without asking it back in a way which allow oneself to care, just to care, no matter what, to embrace no matter what. And that is a very different position that let's do this because it's going to be good for me. No, of course, being good for me is always in the question, because it's what allowed to be yourself with the capacity to love other. But when I think of myself as a romantic, I think about the things that made me vulnerable, the moments in which I cannot hold tears, seeing the suffering of others, and I feel sometimes very, very more than vulnerable, fragile to the points of despair, because despair is not a construct of a definition of something that is so far. If you are tender, if you are alert in your sensorial being, in your aura around others, the pain of others is very near to you. It's very visible. It's feel profound, and the same way the joy. I think of myself at the same time. When I define myself as somebody who wants to and is able to gather people together, to bring people together to do good things, to experience themselves in the best light of each other. And that is an aspiration. And then the failure, the pain of the failure when you are not able. Because in my lifetime, since I remember having memory of seeing, I always have been witness the tension of power plays of the human condition. And remember, I was born in 1959 in Cuba. I give my age away. Not a good idea for a young lady. No, but and the tension of the reality of born in Cuba in that period and living 90 miles away from the United States. I have lived half of my life in Cuba, witnessing that tension, in America, receiving and participating in trying to alleviate, but the same. So I am part of a generation in which the distress of the potentiality of the idea of harm each other because ideological barriers of positioning about what one believe or what one does has been very vivid. Very, very, very vivid. But when I go back to my lineage, say, okay, my great-grandmother was in the Manigua in Cuba, we say the forest, in the independent war. And so this is your question. Do we ever going to enjoy each other and see each other in peace, in love, without war, destruction, rolling around, always surrounding us? Is that possible? And I am a dreamer. I don't know if I will see it in my lifetime, but I hope that being able to love as we are, as human, to have the kind of level of consciousness that we as intelligent human experience, that the capacity of existing in a place in which we could live each other is possible. And art is a center of all of that. And art is a daily manifestation that is possible.
I want to get into this art and Cuba and how it shaped you, particularly politically, a little bit later. But I want to go back to your roots and to the things and the experiences in your life that inspired your work. You were from the village outside of Matanzas in Cuba. Tell me about your village. What did it smell like when you were young?
Good question. It's in the back of my brain. It's in the very back side of my brain. I have said that over and over and over. I have never left out of my consciousness or subconsciousness the smell of the village. And that is a very sensorial thing. It smell like sugar, sweet, and it smell as well as the kind of fresh air that is after rain and after wet. I smell that. I could smell that the same way that I could still feel in the sole of my feet jumping in water after a hurricane, and it's a puddle of red soil and fresh water, and what that does to you, or letting go running on, and under the rain, totally. So those experiences. So I have very beautiful memories of the innocence of youth in that village, And I have been trying to narrate all those things in my work. There is a piece that is called History of People Who Were No Heroes, growing up in an slave barrack, 1993. I did this piece in the United States, but it's about that, and it's in 3 parts. And the 3 parts is a town portrait, talking about the village, how it looked like, the materiality of the village, the sugar factory, the former slave sugar factory when my ancestors worked, but what it was made of, red bricks, steel, and how that still in my memory, and I remembered all of that, seeing the sugar fields. Yeah. I didn't know at that time when I was very young that sugar cane is the tallest grass, and that it's a grass, it's just a grass. For me, it was towering. So they are this incredible kind of bucolical, sweet memories of friends and kids and chat without knowing or the other structure of what is all that happened there. But I am very grateful to that because I have a very profound engaged with nature. So the town was a littered village. I'm trying to remember what was the population, but very small. Everybody know each other. Everybody's in close proximity. And it was this kind of scene that you left your home in the morning and you have lunch with somebody else that is not your family, but it's good. They care about you, and you come back later and spend the hours and hours in the weekend, with other families and other kids, and very peaceful in that. And then all the other scenes lingering or staying in the side of that because it was other stories, more complex. But red soil, ceiba tree, palm tree, almacigo tree, who have a sap that is medicinal. Entire savanna with the most delicious tropical fruits. Going there, throwing stones and little piece of wood to mango tree and get and eat the mango when it's dropped down in front of you.
Wow.
And I used to remember and tell people when I came to the United States for the first time, if we collect all the avocado that we have in the avocado tree around the house and selling whole food, we will be very wealthy.
Now, I understand your father had that connection with the earth because he was a farmer, right?
Yes. He knew everything about plant, and he knew a lot of things about other topics and matters. He started cutting sugar when he was 9 years old. And he was incredible, capable, and brilliant with numbers and prodigious memory, and the same with baseball. And he never convinced me to love baseball.
So when you think about your family and the influences that your father and your mother and your community gave you, and you look at your connection with nature, living in this village, smelling of sugarcane, getting this red mud clay on your feet, in your clothes that you still hold with you all these years later. Compare that to our modern way of life here in America and our connection or disconnection to nature and the planet. What are we getting wrong? What do we need to change?
I want to say something else too about the village. What I got from there too was an incredible sense of respect to the elders, to respect to tradition, to respect what family is. No, I don't want to say what is that we get wrong in America. I don't want to phrase it that way because I believe that they are marvelous and beautiful stories holding by people that grow in small towns, in small places, cities or villages in America. But what I feel that we are maybe needed to put a close attention in now in modern world is how we keep our relation with tradition, culture, and the elders. That is something to learn from everybody that is 20 years older than you, maybe less. That is something to keep out of that. And that geography, sites, and the narrative and the story of sites are precious things to connect with. You know, I was privileged in this idea that I come from an African family, traditional African family, who actually care about what nature gives us and how sustain us in very profound ways, in a maybe more larger ways than just it produced for us the food of today and the food of tomorrow. It's connect us with what we went centuries ago, and it's giving us the doorway to what we're going to be in the future. That is how Africans and in Cuba we connect with nature. My father would ask for his permission, knocking in the tree before taking a little branch, and we drop a gift to the tree. Pennies, cornmeal. I witnessed that. I was not told. I never was told that you need to ask for permission to the tree. I witnessed.
Yeah.
That is precious. That is beautiful. I still doing funny little things like kissing my own plants, no? Because the lesson there, this is precious, and this is profound connected to you. There is something here that could sustain yourself now and your future and have back history. So I am interested in motion in relation to time. I am interested in how do we move forward. So the question is, how do we, in a place like United States, we are in the first world, in a place in which we have electricity, water, food, everything 24/7, 365 days, how we learn and how we kept to appreciate the little things, you know, the little flower, learn to know where your chicken come from. No, the first time that I saw the 6 leg of a chicken in America, I just jumped because I never had seen a 6-leg chicken.
Yeah, I haven't either.
No, neither, but I saw a packet with 6 legs, and I was terrified because all that I have seen before always was two legs from the chicken that we use. So that is modern life versus traditional life, and how do we engage and balance them. So I want to think about what we should do better in connecting our developing first world society, technological advanced society with our ancestral self and our traditions.
Let's take one short break. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation with María Magdalena Campos-Pons and dig into her artistic process and how art speaks to her. We'll be right back. This is Nashville.
Funding for This Is Nashville comes from you, our listeners, and Music City Prep Clinic, Nashville-based provider for PrEP and offering comprehensive sexual health services in an environment designed to be safe, professional, and shame-free. Learn more at musiccityprep.org.
I'm Khalil Ecolona, and this is Nashville. My guest is María Magdalena Campos-Pons, a multidisciplinary artist and professor of fine arts. She's also the Cornelius Vanderbilt Endowed Chair of Fine Arts. It's an honor to have her in the studio with us. María Magdalena, thank you so much.
It's such a pleasure speaking with you, Khalil.
Your art is so vast and deep. Take me back to your schooling in Cuba. I understand you were exposed to different artistic mediums and you learned how to master them. What was that like?
Well, I was very, very lucky, very privileged. Since very, very young, I was part of a very experimental program in elementary school in the town of Manguito in the province of Matanzas in Cuba. And I have this fantastic professor, Carmen Lidia Escobar Menendez, which I always mention because she was so pivotal in my life. And I would say that she was maybe like a similar or parallel to what in America they call a Montessori program. So There was a lot of attention to individual way of learning. And with her, from 3rd grade to 6th grade, primary school, I learned and we experimented with music, performance, visual art, poetry, and what I call maybe domesticity, because I learned to do things like making a thank you note letter and building an envelope and decorate scenes. And it was like a domestic class. Mm-hmm. So Carmen Lidia Escobar Menendez is very center. My first performance was in her class. I was playing a princess in a tale about a kingdom with a princess was sad, whatever, in any case. But she was brilliant, including that. For that performance, she changed the narrative of the tale to make the princess that was blonde because I was black.
Yeah.
So she changed everything. So it was so much of alertness from the very beginning there. And then I went to the Escuela Provincial de Artes in Cuba. Art education is by exam. So my very first entry into art was to study music. I was studying oboe. And and then this school was all disciplines together. And I always have interest in visual arts. And I spent a lot of time just drawing and doing sketches and painting. And I was convinced to make an exam from the School of Visual Arts, was accepted, speed through it. And the next level was the National School of Art, was accepted, speed through it, and then the Hager Institute of Art. Now, what was special about all this education is that it was always multidisciplinary or interdisciplinary. Since very young, at age 13, 12, I entered a school. They have musicians, visual artists, people studying theater. So it was always this different field of art together. When I went to the National School of Art, it was expanded in Havana. So the model that I was brought since very early was completely intermingle and cross-disciplinary practice of the arts and a very rigorous, in a way, academic training. Mm-hmm. There is a very strong tradition of academic art in Cuba, and I was exposed to that, so I learned all the traditions, methodology for art making, from three-dimensional art to bidimensional art, very, very, very specifically. And it was a long schooling, 4 years for the elementary, for the first, then 4 years for the next, and 5 years for the next. Mm-hmm. So I spent all my youth, in a school with the arts, and it was the Hager Institute of Art in Cuba and ENA was beautiful. There are many, very important Cuban musicians in the realm of music that we were all together in the school, and people from film, from theater, puppetry. I say that maybe one of the interesting things that happened in Cuba in that period was that, but it's connected with the history of Cuban art. That is that way, that is very rich, that is very vernacular, that take a lot of different input from different traditions of art making and tradition of cultural build, African, European, Native, Asian. So that is all present too in how I learn, and is everything in my work of today.
What was your education like post-Castro?
I born there. Yeah. I born exactly into that. So Castro created a school that was called Cubanacan, and they built these very futuristic buildings that host the School of Music, the School of Visual Arts, the School of Theater, the School of Dance. Remember that Cuba have in the end of the Republican period, the 40s, 30s, 50s, an extraordinary ballerina, Alicia Alonso, who was a world-renowned classic ballerina. She was the director of the School of Ballet in that I live in the same dorm with the ballerina. I still standing myself until this day in a position of a ballet dancer.
Okay.
Because it was to be hanging around with those girls all the time. And then Cuba have an incredible tradition of both contemporary music and classic music. The great guitarist Leo Brouwer was directed the Cuban Symphony when I was a young student, having a school that have practice of a theater and film. The Institute of Cuban Cinematic Institute in Cuba was very intense. We have a lot of introduction to that. So the conversation of culture and in education in Cuba, and this particular set of art school was really interesting, was really cutting edge. It was very interesting in design. It was very interesting in the history of painting, film, printmaking, sculpture. There were intense conversations that took place there that were part of the tradition of art in Cuba. Don't forget that one of the most important black artists in the diaspora in the 20th century is a Cuban, black, Chinese, Spaniard, Wilfredo Lam. So Wilfredo Lam, who was a friend with Picasso, is a guy that born in the center of the island, Agua La Grande. And his profile is that, a man of Chinese ancestor, African ancestor, and Spanish ancestor. Mm-hmm. This was fundamental. He introduced, to some extent, Picasso to African art. So the voice of Cuba in the contemporary scene in the turn of the century and after, important. And all of that connected with the history of sugar, no? Mm-hmm. Sugar was in the 18th century, 19th century, gold of oil.
Oh, yes.
And the center of the production of sugar was Cuba after Haiti Revolution. So there was a lot of money, a lot of power. The saccharocracy of Cuba was powerful. And the culture, the structure, and the culture plateau where Cuba was built by the time that I arrived was extraordinary, no? Extraordinary. You know.
If you're just tuning in, this is Nashville, and I'm your host, Khalil Ecolona. We're talking this hour with the multidisciplinary artist, María Magdalena Campos-Pons, about her work, her passions, and her journey. I want to talk now about your exhibition, Behold. It's going to be featured at the Frist's Ingram Gallery on September 27th through January 5th. I understand it's 3 decades of your work combined into a theme. Tell me how you weave these decades of your work, because we all change as people and we change as artists.
Yes.
How did you weave all that to create this story for Behold?
Well, I need to first acknowledge the curators of the exhibition. Carmen Hermo from the Brooklyn Museum in New York, and Massey Harris from the Getty Museum in Los Angeles, and Janet Darrier from New York. They are the curators, and in a way, we work together. Okay. You know, in the structure of how to build the narrative of 3 decades of work under one topic. Behold is their choice. They chose this term. The curators. The curators look at the entire practice and think, let's see what are the trails, what is the line that connect and keep scenes stable or changing or conversing back and forth. So I believe that there are a few things that they put into account. The fact that my practice is really interdisciplinary. That is an entire aspect of performative practice, both live performance and performance for the media, for the camera. Mm-hmm. That is a tradition, that is an important practice in bidimensional work, which is drawing, printmaking, painting. That is a tradition of media work in the form of video. And that is a tradition of a three-dimensional work that moved from a sculptural installation to video and media installation in all its multitude. And that I have to, in my practice, an extended studio that encompasses what I have done as an academic, as a thinker, as a citizen of the world, creating institutions in here and elsewhere. So the work is starting around now. I think that it started around 90s. I'm trying to remember now.
Okay.
90s, and end with a piece from 20 or 22, more or less. And instead of giving the chronological aspect of the show just room by room, it does by theme. So labor, memory, sensorial aspect, performativity. And when I finally, the curators, it's a lot of work, it's a lot of material. I rediscovering myself. And that is the beauty of having the privilege of a surveyor your work, because they are scenes that I haven't seen in many years, over 30 years, that I am not familiar with their pieces because they are not in my care anymore. They are in collections or in museums. And it's always a surprising and a fearful moment. My first reaction is, how do I going to feel? And then, of course, when I walk through the entire scene and you are working for years, an exhibition of this dimension is built over years. It's not like So it was a lot of conversation back and forth, visit the museum, see the spaces, decided how to adapt the work to the condition of the different locations, the different spaces, the pieces that were new. In the context of Behold, we premiered a totally brand new piece, A Modern River of Tears, in the collaboration with Kamal Malak, who is my partner in life, and that I'm so privileged to be in a relation, going to marry him soon.
Congratulations.
I'm so lucky. So, in any case, to these incredible musicians, and we did a performance in the Modern River of Tears for the Brooklyn Museum specific. So we designed together this new piece that include video, live music, and performativity to there. So at the Fritz is going to be slightly different, adapting to the architecture, the condition of the Fritz. But what it does for me and for the practice is an opportunity to reconfigure and to reevaluate everything and know what is next. So a survey is an incredible gift to an artist, an incredible gift to the audience. My hope and my aspiration and desire is that people are going to get to know me better. My students will know me better. This is incredible for the students, because we go to the classroom and tell them and demand things from them. But here they have the opportunity to see how you align what you say with what you do.
Yes.
And what is your work. So this is a mirror, it's a reflection image. So this is an incredible academic tool. It's an incredible tool for a local audience to the ideas behind the practice. And the ideas in the practice are very important. So this is, I hope that everybody that listens to this program will attend, that they pass the voice to other people, and that we could have, I could have real conversations too with the constituents of this region during the exhibition.
I do want to talk about your experience as a teacher and an educator right after we take this one last break. When we come back, we'll learn about the people who educated María Magdalena Campos-Pons and how she uses those experiences when she is teaching at Vanderbilt. You can join the conversation by tweeting us at This Is Nashville. We'll be right back. I'm Khalil Ekalona, and this is Nashville. My guest is María Magdalena Campos-Pons, artist, educator, and human. We've been discussing her life and her passion for art, spirituality, and connections. The Cuban native has lived in many parts of the world. She now calls Nashville home, working at Vanderbilt as the Cornelius Vanderbilt Endowed Chair of Professor of Fine Arts. So how does she take the wonderful education she received and use that to teach the newest generation of artists? We'll find out now. Magda, thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure, Cleo.
Okay, we spoke about your education in Cuba. You studied at Instituto Superior de Arte, Art College in Cuba, but you now teach at Vanderbilt. When you think about the education you received and the education you want your students to receive, what comes up?
Trust, care, and love. I have amazing teachers, and I receive incredible support from my teachers. I'm going to mention a few teachers, but I'm going to mention Antonio Vidal, who was a member of the group of abstract painter in Cuba, a group of artists called the generation of 11, the group of 11. And he's an abstract painter, but he saw a portrait that he didn't know who did it, but he was so curious about who was the author, who was the artist, who is that? And I was 15 years old. And he saw that piece and said to me in the spot, you are a painter and you could be a great painter. And I want you in my class. He became a father figure for me. What we discuss, poetry, philosophy, take for tea, life, everything. I would stay in the house, a tiny little space. The house, the room that was to receive visitor of Antonio Vidal in Havana was the side of the studio. Mm-hmm. And he invited students there. And sometimes we start the conversation at 9 p.m. and it ended at 3 a.m. And his wife, whose name was María Magdalena as well, Gladys, would stay there and embrace us like we were the children. Mm. So my students, I think of my students as my children. And I think of my students with such a sense of responsibility because I believe that my life was changed or direct in profound ways by the people that I found in the college that I attended, the school that I attended, since the elementary school that I mentioned to you, from 3rd grade to 6th grade, to every step of the way. In the Escuela Provincial de Artes, Agustin Drake, who I adore, and recently passed away, and another professor Fundora in the painting and sculpture. People that saw my writing and say, oh, you could write. And people that saw my drawing and say, you're a great draftsman. So affirmation. What did I find or what did I get from my professor that I passed to my student? Affirmation. In teaching art, there is an entire aspect of our criticism. You need to critique your students. Mm-hmm. All my criticism in the many, many years, decades that I spent teaching is finding what is valuable, what is able to construct from what my students doing and build from that. There is no one student that I have give ever a negative criticism.
Okay.
Because my effort is focused about what is here that is valuable, what is here that I could use to build an entire conversation, problem, expansion from the positive aspect of it. Mm-hmm. I respect negative criticism. I respect when somebody say, drop that, throw it away. But that is not my style. Yeah. That is not the way that I do it. Because I have found that affirmation always allowed to open the heart of others too. You know, the student that may be retreat when you say something negative may be open itself when you found that is something to where to hold from. You know, and that also is my philosophy in life. Mm-hmm. You know, in this situation that is complicated, what is the good part of it? What is salvable here? Yeah. What could I build from here? What is the little plank of wood in the water in which I could hold as a raft to go to the next side, to the next shore? So I feel that I have great respect for teachers. I always have choose to teach alongside my practice. Teaching is a forum that keeps you very alert.
Yes.
Teaching keep you in the tippy top of everything. Your students always are smarter than you are. Always, I think themselves, I was a bad student. I keep my professor in the tippy top, asking the difficult question, trying to keep myself always ahead a little bit of the scene. And I found that this is very valuable. I keep myself, I think, younger and fresher by being in the classroom.
I always felt that teaching, it was like, what does teaching give to you? I'm like, well, it helps keep you young.
Yes, and it's demanding, but why not? Anything that is valuable is going to be demanding, no? So I feel that is, and I also say, I teach because I am working for the future. It's a privilege. I always thank the parents, and I say, thank you for allowing me to be part of forming what your kid is about to become. No, because if you are a good teacher, you are a good professor, this is what happened. I get mesmerized now when I travel the world and I see the result of my teaching. Everywhere that I go in the planet Earth, And I feel I surrounded by life. They have been incredible, a move and enhanced by the combined effort of many professors together. But I have a teeny part of that. So I say to my students and in Vanderbilt, when I am no any longer teaching in the formal classroom, I will be teaching from the studio. I will be teaching from any platform or forum that I construct, because I think that is part of one of the most novel and transformative professions that one could do. I have veneration for elementary school teachers. Anybody that has spent time with people under 17, and that managed is precious. So I have a lot. I think that our education system need to rethink about the job of professors, pay them better.
Yes.
Giving them more opportunity for everything. Because when you send your kid to college, you put your kid in the hands of people that are forming and being fundamental part of what they're going to become.
When I look at it, for decades, the arts have been siphoned away from the foundation of American education. When I was in elementary school, it was art 4 days a week, music, chorus 3 days a week, band, actual instruments in our hands 2 days out of that week. And that lasted until second, third year of high school. You could choose to specialize in what you wanted, but that's changed so much in American society. You have to find after-school programs, or if you kids who are fortunate enough to attend schools who actively invest in that's available to them. How is that impacting us? I know you like to think positive, but I'm thinking, is that potentially stunting our cultural growth by not exposing the young people to the arts in the education space?
Definitely. This is one of the greatest tragedy of our present time. No understanding that art should be a fundamental part of a child education from the very beginning. And when I think the arts, all of them, what is art? Art is an opportunity to let your mind wander free. Art is an opportunity to place questions for everything that exists and dare to imagine it differently. Art is an opportunity to discover. Art is an inquiry of everything that is around you. Let's say a house. Every artist could render a house different. Mm-hmm. Every artist could imagine, a rendering of anything, a perception of anything different. It is nothing close to science as an art. I always say art and science is the same thing with different end.
Yes.
The same thing. So if you want to create a society that is active, a society that will survive any limitation, you need to focus in the art, because art is creativity. Art is your competitive edge. It's not calling in business the art of negotiation.
Yes.
No. I mean, so to survive, to win, you need to apply the arts. You need to apply the arts. Art, I say in visual art, a form of art drawing. Drawing is the fundamental scaffolding structure of everything that we build in any field. You play a game and you have the coach that is nothing else but a draftman drawing what is going to happen in that field. Mm-hmm. And putting somebody here, somebody there, telling information. That is drawing. Mm-hmm. You have a surgeon, and what is a surgeon? Somebody with a high stake, with a tool that could be very dangerous. He doesn't know very well what drawing is and what a line is. Mm-hmm. You have a negotiation in the table, and what you are negotiating from this point to that point, to that point, to that point, to this end. A strategy. A strategy of any sort is a good structured drawing. Yes. With the foundations are in place, so the scaffolding could be a stand still. A bad drawing destroy anything that you build from it, metaphorically and real, from architecture, from engineering, from medicine, from surgery, from sport, from business. Mm. So the negotiation table for anything, including the table of the family conversation, is a strategic of a draw, of a line, a point A, B, C to construct a plane, to create stability, to create a situation. So art in every form is fundamental. Without art, we don't have this conversation. Because what are who allowed us to become this Homo sapiens thinking forward, technology oriented in the 21st century. So when we in a society remove the art, we're removing fundamental scaffolding of how do we going to move forward well, because we could move forward, but backward as well.
Okay, I want to ask you about living here in Nashville. You've lived in so many places across the world. And you're here in Nashville working at Vanderbilt, your new home here. How do you embrace Nashville?
I love Nashville. I am happy to be here. I am grateful that I am here. It's a beautiful city. It's a moving place. It's a growing place. I have had the opportunity here to fulfill some fundamental ideas and dreams. I was very happy when I came here and helped to launch the Triennial of Tennessee under the topic of repair. Because repair was a call to talk about the history of this site, the history of this place, and the opportunity for the future. When I was conversing with my friends about coming here, some people say, why Nashville? Why do you want to be there? And my answer always, why not? Why not Nashville? Why not to be there? Why not to be part of the new landscape and the evolving, transforming landscape of what America must and need to be part of the leading force of the 21st century and the next century? No, because I don't going to be visible in the next century in this conversation, but I'm going to be here in some sort of energy, looking and I'm watching and seeing. So this is an interesting place. I also find out, I'm being in Nashville and in this region, I'm going to locate that as the South, as part of the conversation in the global South. They are fundamental things about America and the history of this culture and the history of this nation, that if you don't come here and live here, you're going not to completely see it or understanding. And since I relocate here, I see the weight and the weight of this, how much what happened here still influence what America is. So I am in a place in which I believe that I could be a voice of aspiration, a voice of color, of beautiful colors, to invite people to be the best of themselves to others, to embrace. This is the only city that I have been in the world, in an airport, lost. And somebody touched me in the shoulder and told me, are you lost? Could I help you? And when that happened, I say, oh, I did a good decision. I'm going to understand this place, and this place is going to understand me. And what allowed me to do when I am here is to work with very complex histories and very complex narrative, and together with amazing people. Vanderbilt is a moving and shaking and building up in beautiful way institution. I am totally certain that Vanderbilt as university is going to be one of the leading institutions of American higher education in the remainder of the 21st century, that we're going to really to be a place that many people look. And the work that I am doing, the work that I have done with EADA, the Engine for Art, Democracy, and Justice, has given a lot of visibility to our institution in the arts and in the humanities. And what we are doing as an institution, all of us, and the interchange, the collaboration between with Historical Black College, Fisk University, TSU, with the Fritz Museum, with the organization Million of Conversation, we are breaking new ground. We are thinking about what arts, education, sociability is in a different level. And I think that we are in the forefront of ideas that are fundamental, not only for our nation, but for the world. And this is what people are following us here and coming here to everything that we ask them and invite them immediately, because we are placing the right questions, we are tasking the right problems, and we are accelerating in that.
María Magdalena Campos-Pons is a multidisciplinary artist, professor of fine arts at the Cornelius Vanderbilt Endowed Chair of Fine Arts at Vanderbilt University. Such an honor. Thank you so much for being here. Really, I wish we had 2 hours to talk.
We could keep talking outside the This is Nashville, but thank you for having me. Thank you to listen to my words, and thank you for allowing me to have access to this platform to reach larger audience and sense the audience and the people and invite them to follow EADJ, to follow Vanderbilt, to follow Behold, and to follow a call to find our better self on beauty and gratitude and radical love. Thank you.
The honor is all ours. Thank you. And thanks to you for tuning in this hour. This is Nashville is a production of Nashville Public Radio. Today's episode was produced by Magnolia McKay. It was directed by Tasha A.F. Lemley. Our technical director and board operator is Liv Lombardi. The masterminds behind our theme music are LaRange and Namir Blade. You can listen back at thisisnashville.org or wherever you get good podcasts. And the conversation doesn't end here. Tweet us at This Is Nashville. Find us on Instagram and tell us what you want from our show by filling out our quick survey online, or you could call us 615-760-2000 to leave a message. This is Nashville. I'm Khalil Ekalona. We'll see you tomorrow, everybody. And be good to each other.